Whenever you have serious updates for an operating system or for a critical solution like an Oracle database or a web server, oftentimes the updates will include a knowledge base article, and the initials KB often precede this number, an index number that references the specifics about that update and what it does. And usually embedded inside that knowledge base article is a reference to the CVE database online with MITRE, where exposures and vulnerabilities are cataloged. Now, this is kind of like an arms race. So system security people are always trying to stay one step ahead of the hackers. And as soon as the hackers start to understand, okay, what are they patching? And what's the knowledge base? See, they're doing homework too. They're going to look up this knowledge base article. They're going to go, oh, I see that if they developed solutions on their web server using the .NET framework, that if they used an older version of .NET framework like 3.5, there are common vulnerabilities and exposures. So they do their homework and they find out which of the associated ones are. And then that provides information about where those exposures are so they can develop a strategy and start to access or attempt to access that system or that data, okay? The bigger challenge is that usually these cumulative updates are huge. So one of the problems that we have in this race is that if we get all of our updates from Windows, from Microsoft Direct, that comes down through your internet service provider. And your internet service provider is about 100 to 1,000 times slower than an update that would be provided locally. Now, what do I mean by locally? If we had a server and we decided to take a Microsoft server and it had additional disk space, and instead of using it for generic file services or DNS or for Active Directory as a domain controller, right? We added the Windows Software Update Service role. Can everybody see this?
Yeah.
If we create a new server with generous hard disk space, and then we add this role, what happens is that when we deploy this role and configure it, everything that you would normally have to get across the internet from Microsoft, this particular update is pretty large. It's several hundred megabytes large. By the time you multiply by 8, each download of this update on a network, let's look at UVI. UVI has anywhere between 300 and 600 connected clients on the Wi-Fi, on the Bucks Wi-Fi and on the campus network at any given time. So students are coming and going, they're connecting to wireless. If 600 of those students get this same notice and they all start downloading, each one of these, by the time you multiply by 8, because it's in bytes and it's megabytes and it's hundreds and hundreds of megabytes, it's now like the length of a Netflix high definition movie streaming for 2 hours. So it's a couple of gigabits of data. And that slows down the update. And then to make matters worse, when people get the little blinky in the lower, have you ever seen a little pop-up that says, hey, you have updates waiting on you? Has anyone seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Okay. And everybody knows that Russia is pretty much at war with everybody on a certain level right now, you know? So physically they are at war with the Ukraine, but anyone who supports Ukraine, their cyber agents are trying to make life miserable for anyone who would help or assist or ally be an ally of the Ukraine, right? And that includes the US, the United States. Everybody knows this, yeah? So what am I saying? The cumulative updates are that much more important to post and to implement. And the problem is that users know it's going to slow them down. And users don't want to stop what they're doing in the middle of their work. So they have this little pop-up that says, hey, you have to, you have an update. And then you read about it, or maybe there's a little bit more information and it says, this is really important. Do you want to load it now? 9 times out of 10, users go, nope, I don't want to do it right now. I have something else I have to do, and they postpone it. So never mind that everybody's getting it across the internet. Never mind that it's terribly large. Never mind that users postpone it. It's not uncommon for a cumulative update to sit unloaded for 6 months, which means hackers in Russia and in China have a lot of time on their hands to figure out how to break open a system. And this is a serious problem, okay? One of the ways you can supplement or enhance the natural security of the systems, right? So we talked about role-based access control to secure data. Yes? What we want to do now is talk about what can we do to enhance the security of computers. Put another way, we've already shared with you that there are different kinds of accounts, right? You have user accounts and you have system accounts or computer accounts. And if we use role-based access control on a server to improve the security of the data that users have to work with, what do we do to improve the security of our systems, right? The computers themselves. Because you can have a lot of different users on any given computer. So we not only have to improve security on the user side, but we have to do it on the computer side. Well, this is where Windows Software Update Server comes into play. So if we have Windows Software Update Server, and let's see, if we have Windows Software Update Server installed on a computer, so let's pretend that we're going to take Pegasus, and because of the imagery there, this is a winged horse. Everybody knows that Pegasus is a winged horse, yeah? Hello?
Yes. Yeah, I
Okay.
know.
So horses can haul a lot of stuff, right? And if it's a winged horse, it can haul it very fast, yeah? So let's pretend that I was on this screen where I was here. Let's pretend I'm on Pegasus. And I add the role and I go here and I click through this and I add Windows Software Update Services. And I configure that on Pegasus. One thing I can do is use group policy objects. So I can go into administrative tools and go to group policy management. Actually, I have one that's open here already. So I'm going to close this one. I can go into group policy management. And I can create a policy that says, hey, you know what? I'm going to create a new policy called auto update. Is everybody with me?
Yep.
Yep, I'm with you.
Okay. Now in here, I'm going to edit this. I'm going to go into policies on the computer, not on users, but on the computer. I'm going to go into administrative templates, into Windows components, and then inside Windows components, into the update options. Update. There's a setting that says specify the intranet server. Now remember, I just turned on Windows Software Update Services and loaded, pre-configured all of the updates that are needed, right? So this very update, right, is loaded on Pegasus now. And I want to push it out so that basically I can specify the active hours for automatic restarts. I can push or allow immediate installation of updates. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
So do I want to put it in the hands of the user to keep saying, no, I'm too busy, I don't want to load it? It just automatically updates, right? So, I mean, I can also do things like configure auto restart warnings. So my users are given a heads up, or I can delay the restart. So I can say, okay, load the thing, but then don't restart the computer until after business hours. But in here, I can specify the intranet location. Now, in another class, we were doing this for a different purpose. But I'm gonna specify Pegasus here, right? So I'm gonna say Pegasus is going to deliver the goods, and I can configure extra security. I can basically change settings so that there's an encrypted TLS, transportation level security is what it's called, right? Pegasus, ASUS. I can basically hit apply and then okay. And now I have this policy. The trick is to link the policy. So I create a group policy that says, I want to automatically update on these parameters with these criteria where users are concerned. Oh, and I want the source to be a local Windows Software Update server because it's 100 to 1,000 times faster. And I want to automatically update the critical updates. You can specify, okay, critical ones, important ones, they're different levels, but the ones that are critical, you can say, just load those automatically. Then the trick is to link it. You have to link the policy to an organizational unit in the domain. So we have two organizational units. We have an STT and an STX. And if I look at it from this console, inside the STT, I have the St. Thomas systems, right? And the St. Croix systems. This looks familiar to everyone, yeah? So what I can do is say, okay, I'm going to link this to an existing group policy object. I'm going to use the auto update policy, and I want you to see how it's not enforced. So I've created the policy. Now I've linked it. So I've got the policy created. Now I've linked it to St. Thomas, to the STT organizational unit. And what I have to do now is enforce it. Once I say enforced, what happens is that when these systems on St. Thomas reboot, or they refresh the group policy settings, and that can be forced manually. You can use a command called GP update force. Then that will refresh the computer policy and update it on each of the systems, and then also apply the user policies if there are any changes there. That will drive the updates locally 100 to 1,000 times faster, and it'll push them automatically so that if there are critical ones where, oh my gosh, The Russians are coming, the Russians are coming, the Russians are coming. You don't have to worry about what the users are going to do. You don't have to worry about what happens if your internet service is slow. You don't have to worry when there's 500 systems that need the same download, right? Having a local server like Pegasus to do the heavy lifting makes all the difference in the world. So it's local. You don't have to download off the internet. Are there any questions about configuring centralized control of automated updates to improve the system security using group policy objects and Windows software update services? Any questions? Okay.